Hello everyone and welcome to the Commexis cast, all the news you need to know from our inbox to yours. Today we're talking about Amazon advertising working directly with brands and bypassing advertising agencies. Hello everyone, I'm Matthew McGrorty, the videographer and podcaster here at Commexis, and today I'm joined by the paid placement specialist here at Commexis, James Van Horn.
Hello everybody.
So today we're talking about Amazon advertising, in particular that Amazon advertising has been working directly with brands and sort of bypassing the advertising agencies. I know we have a little bit of experience working with Amazon in the sense of, placing Amazon ads, mostly and typically for e-commerce sort of things and stuff like that. But now Amazon is kind of completely bypassing advertising agencies, going straight to brands. So Seth Dallaire, the VP of Worldwide and Sales and Marketing at Amazon, told Shireen Pathak on DigiDay, you can find a link to this piece, she had a great write-up. He said that the company works directly with many brands for deeper dives on retail analytics, data like why things may be out of stock, and how to price products and offers. I also have a quote, with some of our largest brands, we may work with our counterparts in the retail business to secure a deal for Prime Day, for example, and then put together a promotional plan to help make it successful. So a lot of this is sort of e-commerce brands coming to him and coming to, in this case, Seth, but coming to Amazon and, trying to work with them to find the best way to get their product sold on the platform and advertise and stuff like that, which I think makes a lot of sense. Jim, what do you think about this?
From an agency standpoint, it doesn't really affect us that much. Like you said, it's mostly for e-commerce. And the one thing to remember is that Amazon still has a whole suite of services. Mm-hmm. So even though from an agency standpoint, if we had somebody come in and they really had nothing, they had no e-commerce website, they had inventory just kind of stashed away at a warehouse. Mm-hmm. They have those services already set up where you can partner with Amazon from the agency standpoint mm-hmm. and get all of that set up, including the analytics information, get notifications when you're close to stock, out of stock, recommendations on improvement for the whole supply workflow. From an agency standpoint and from a business standpoint, I think you're looking at two different things. It won't really affect us overall. Mm-hmm. From a business standpoint that's going into it, the one thing they got to remember is that this is just one outlet, mm-hmm. It's almost strictly for e-commerce. If it's a service or B2B, it doesn't really fit that mold. Mm-hmm. But the limitation that you get by, Amazon just going out and pitching is that Amazon itself may not have, primarily because they're competitors, but they mm-hmm. may not have that specialty to say, we're also going to back it up for the closer to the end of the funnel people and run Google paid search ads. Mm-hmm. And we're also going to run Facebook ads to get them from, inception when they start looking. Mm-hmm. So you're really just looking at one outlet. Mm-hmm. So, although, Amazon's going out and some people are kind of, up in arms saying you're stealing our business, in actuality, they're not. And it's not anything new. Google has always done this. Some of the biggest advertisers in the world go straight through Google. Mm-hmm. They don't go with an agency. Even for somebody as big as, take your top of the line, WPP, they don't have some of those large accounts because mm-hmm. all those large accounts have an internal team that work directly with a platform. Mm-hmm. Whether it's social media platforms like Facebook, Google, or Amazon, mm-hmm. but they'll still go out to the agencies to say, hey, listen, we have this through here. Where we need help is the branding mm-hmm. or the messaging, new product launch, rebranding of the company. So, competitively, yes, they're a competitor, mm-hmm. but really, unless you're trying to go after that big client, like mm-hmm. the Kraft or the Kellogg or the Samsung, they're not really in that same field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's a great quote from Eric Heller in this DigiDay piece. He's the founder of Wunderman Commerce consultancy marketplace Ignition. He said, Amazon is definitely talking directly to brands, but he also said that I'm not sure that everything old isn't new again. I don't think after Google, we started hearing later that companies were dropping agencies, which is exactly what you were sort of just referring to, that while it's definitely competition for most advertising agencies, unless you're going after that big brand, that big client, it's not going to be nearly as bad as people are sort of hoo-haing it to be. So one thing that I think is really interesting here, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, is that some brands, the interesting thing of partnering directly with Amazon is, in a way, certain brands, I think of, for example, Adidas, who was sort of pressured into putting their full catalog on Amazon. Amazon many months ago said, if you don't put your full catalog on our store place, then we are going to begin, sort of having our black label products come out that are very similar to your products and probably undercut the price significantly, right? So what I think is really interesting on here, and I'd love your comment on, is, brands, might be a little cautious actually to work with Amazon when that money could be funneling into a black label version of their own product.
Right. And the one thing to think about too is the more you look into it, when they take control of that inventory, when they say give me everything, kind of in the fine print is where they say they're kind of allowed to adjust the price on you without notifying you.
Yes.
And of course, the response is it's to be market effective, market efficient, to respond to the users and say, okay, we're seeing, when it's 10% less, they're buying more. So we're going to drop it 10%. And, somebody may look at that and say that's not a big deal, but when you talk about larger ticket items, 10% over millions of units sold could be a decent reduction in not only the inventory that you're supposed to sell at this price, now it's this price, but then you also have this amount of money that's going out on the advertising and marketing services for Amazon. So, with anything, especially when you're going straight through a platform, you always need to look at that fine print. Thankfully there are highly specialized agencies out there, some that only deal with Amazon, so they kind of have that direct conduit. So the one thing I always say, even if it's a big brand, you may be being pitched by Amazon, it may sound great, but there is a vast amount of knowledge out there. Due diligence will definitely reward the big brands that say, is this really the right fit for me? Maybe, even though it's not ideal, maybe partnering with 2 to 3 agencies that have specific specialties is the one to go with, like the ones that have the strategy, the branding, the creative aspect. And then maybe go with an agency that has highly specialized networks and connections and account managers in Amazon and run it through them. That way they can keep the eye on the ball for you and say, hey, listen, Amazon, we want to charge this price. Thanks for trying to look out for us, but no, this is what we need to get for it. We can't take a reduction. So that's one thing to think about, especially when you go through these platforms, is they may have a lot of account managers, and they may have a lot of people working on that side, but a lot of times when you go with an agency versus a platform, for the platform, like you said, it's almost double dipping. They're getting your ad dollars, plus they're getting a management fee, plus they're controlling your account. With an agency, it's about building a relationship and actually understanding the customer, the client, what they need and their objectives are, and then getting it accomplished and done. So, that's the one thing to think about when you go into this, is everything may sound great, like Amazon's pitching us, makes sense for a lot of businesses, but always do the diligence to say, do I need somebody on my team? If the answer is no, maybe the answer is no. It's just a small shop. They're like, I just want to sell stuff. Yeah. Okay, great. Go straight through Amazon. But, for a medium to larger size business where it helps to have that agency understand you, that's probably the better route to go, because they still have all the same services open to an agency. The only difference is you might have somebody, especially if you don't have an internal marketing team or a small internal marketing team, it acts as a backup and just a wealth of information to say, we're going to pull back ad spend because of whatever trend, whatever time of year, what we're seeing in the marketplace, and we're going to push it over to Facebook so we stay relevant and in front of people. Obviously, somebody at Amazon will never say that. They won't say, take our ad dollars and push it someplace else.
You're very correct there, Jim. Well, I think that was fantastic. Thank you for joining me, Jim. That was a wealth, a great knowledge and a great response to this. So all of you guys really think about, what Jim just said about, when you're weighing these pros and cons. Obviously, an advertising agency is going to be able to give you a lot more information, a lot more experience, and a lot more hands-on. Hopefully, with different things. Exactly. For us, for example, we're a smaller agency, and we have a lot of people and a lot of different things that we do with creative and paid placement and video and content strategy. Philip's normally on the podcast, stuff like that. So just things to think about. Thank you, Jim, for joining me today at the table. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If you guys would like to listen to more of us, you can check us out on the iTunes Podcast Store, SoundCloud, the Google Play Music Store, on TuneIn and on Stitcher. And if you'd like to watch us in full, you can check us out on Facebook, YouTube, and IGTV. And you can also get nice little snippets of our show in your social media feeds by following us on Twitter, Instagram, and on LinkedIn. Thank you very much, and have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.